today we're going to take a look at factoring. But before we do that, let's go back to Algebra 1 and think about multiplying using an array model. And that is when you're looking at an area. For example, if you were to look at x plus 3 times x minus 4, this is like your length and your width. So what we do is we draw that box that represents your rectangle. And the outside of that box, you're going to write my length and the width, which is x plus 3 and x minus 4. When you multiply, you go length times width, that will give you the area. So there's actually the area of 4 boxes here that we need to find. X times x is going to give me x squared. X times 3 is going to give me 3x. X times negative 4 is going to give me negative 4x. And last but not least, 3 times negative 4 is going to give me negative 12. The area to this entire box is all of the area of these 4 boxes added together. So when we combine like term, we see that the diagonals here are my like terms and I can combine them. So my area of this box is x squared minus 1x minus 12. And what we're going to end up doing is we're going to end up getting the area of a box when we factor, and we need to figure out what's the length and what's the width of that box. So this is actually really important because we need to know where these numbers are coming from. Your first term, the x squared, is actually the very first box right there. The last term, minus 12, is actually the last box within your 4 boxes. Now that middle term, minus x, is the combination of those 2 diagonal boxes. So that's going to give me my minus x. So when I give you this term and I have to fill it out, you now know where each of these terms are going to come from. Now let's take a look at what we're actually going to do today. What we're actually going to do today is something similar to this, where I gave you, hey, x squared plus 8x plus 12 is my area. Now how do I find my length and width? I do the same thing, except this time, instead of filling out my length and the width on the outside, that's what I want to find. So what I'm going to end up filling out is what's on the inside. From before, the first term is going to go in my first box. The last term is going to go into my last box. And remember how I said that the middle term is these 2 boxes added together. So somehow, something plus something has to be 8x. And this is where the x in the x box is going to come from. All right, so let's go right to our notes and actually take a look at examples. There's going to be 3 steps. Let's write this down. The first step, we want to make sure we factor out any greatest common factor to make the numbers smaller. Second step, we're going to do the x box to try to factor it out. In fact, there's only 2 steps. The third step is to solve, which is something that we're going to do a little bit later. So when it says to factor, we're trying to find the length and the width. Let's take a look. First step, greatest common factor, 5, 15, 10. 5 goes into all 3 of these. So my greatest common factor is going to be 5. What do I do with this 5? I'm going to divide out from all of the terms. So divide each term by 5. So what I'm going to end up getting is 5 on the outside because I divided it out. And I have x squared plus 3x plus 2. Now I'm going to take this trinomial right here and I'm going to do the x box, because remember, here's my box. I know that x squared goes into my first box. I know that plus 2 goes into my last box, and I'm trying to figure out what are these two numbers that would give me an 3x. Well, this is where the x comes from. On the x, the top part of the x, I'm going to take your a and your c, and I'm going to multiply them. So in this case, the a is 1. 1 times positive 2 is positive 2. On the bottom is going to be my b term, what I'm going to add it up to equals to. In this case, it will be add up to equals to 3. What I need to find are two numbers that multiply to get 2 and add to get 3. Well, I only have two choices. To get to 2, multiply to get to 2. I can either have 1 times 2 or negative 1 times negative 2. Which means, if I'm looking at these two options, which one of these is going to add up to a positive 3? I only have 1 and 2. So that's what goes here. 1 times 2 is give me positive 2. 1 plus 2 gives me positive 3. And these are the two numbers that goes in here. I get 1x and 2x. Now that I have everything inside the box filled out, I can figure out what's on the outside. The first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to cover up the bottom half, bottom 2. And I have 1x squared and 1x. I need to find what do they have in common. The greatest common factor of 1 and 1 is 1. And then x squared and x, both of them has 1x in common. Now that I got that written out right outside here, I can now multiply to get to these boxes. 1x times what equals to 1x squared? That's going to give me 1x. 1x times what equals to 1x? That's going to give me positive 1. Do the same thing. Uncover the bottom 2. 1x times what equals to 2x? That's going to give me positive 2. And just to double check, 1 times 2 is going to give me positive 2. Now I have found the length and the width of this box, which is x plus 1 times x plus 2. And this is the factor of x squared plus 3x plus 2. What I've forgotten was I have divided out a 5 at the beginning. So I need to make sure that I put that 5 right back in the front of my factor. So my final answer is 5 times x plus 1 times x plus 2.